Hey, what's up guys, it's Lego Hobo 910 here with another LEGO video. And in this video I'm reviewing set number 75259, the LEGO Star Wars 20th Anniversary Snowspeeder. So let's get right into the review. So of course, like all the other 20th Anniversary sets, this one comes with a 20th Anniversary figure. We're going to look at closer later, this one being Lando. I'm just going to move him temporarily. And then this standard stand build that they all come with. Obviously the only difference being the printing on the name. Then it has this 2x4, so that way you can connect it to other stands by just plopping them on right there. Just a short, simple little build. Now let's get on to some of the other more unique builds. So first of all, there's a pretty simple build for an anti-vehicle turret. And it has a stud shooter up on the front where the gun is. It obviously comes with an extra stud for that, as well as an extra stud for a stud shooter we will see later. It has a decent amount of mobility. As you can see, it can turn around. And then also it can angle there. The gun itself can turn if you want it to. There's really no point in that. That's just the way it's connected. I like how it looks using the large radar dish pieces, especially the one here that has all the gaps. It's a very simple little build. It also has a little extra bit there that I believe is supposed to be like a viewport so you can aim it. Then there's a few extra binoculars there to give to your Hoth soldiers. There's one little spot there if you want to put a minifigure there. It's a very simple little build, but it does what it's supposed to. And obviously you can shoot off a stud at whatever enemy or vehicle you would like to shoot at. So here, of course, is the main build of the set, which is the Snowspeeder, the most recent in a line of many. It's been a little bit since we've gotten a regular one, though, recently, so it's good to have access to it. It obviously is, it looks like what it's meant to. It's not super revolutionary. It is kind of a neat design, though, and it works well. It does have less orange than its predecessors, though, and more of the gray. I wish it would have had a bit more of the orange, because I like the way that looks. I'll start over by looking at one of the wings here. Here's kind of the engine, which can then open up to reveal kind of some of the air intakes, I believe it's meant to be. And those can, open, and you can, open one side more to make it look like it's going into a turn and whatnot. Or have them slightly opened, closed, have them, all the way opened. I personally think it looks best to have them slightly opened or all the way closed. And there's also a sticker there for a little bit more detail, same with there. And then there's, of course, the big gun going throughout, which I think looks good. And I like the addition of the cone. There's just a little bit of extra detail that works well. Then underneath these guns, there is a spring-loaded shooter on either side. So that way, and you just push those on the sides, so that way, the guns can actually look like they're firing. And those do line up pretty well. Like, if I hold it here, you can see it lines up pretty well with where the gun actually is. It works pretty well. I like the fact that these are hidden well. One thing I don't like about them is the natural way to hold it is kind of like this, and it makes it very easy to bump them, like with your pinky or something. So they're pretty easy to bump. It, of course, comes with an extra shot for that. But I like the fact that they're hidden away. Of course, one big sticker on the front. And there are a few variations between the wings, like the grate there, and then not having one there. Just a few small things. And around the back, we have a little gun for the gunner, as well as then, of course, the tow cable, which you can just, pull out and reel back in and whatnot to hook the AT-AT, which is something that we actually need another one of since we haven't gotten one in a while, and also, getting this set helps justify it. Yeah, that just works as expected. It's nothing too crazy. And there are a few grates back here, and I like the way those look. So now let's go to the interior. There are two ways to open this. You can either just open the large preformed cockpit piece. You just want to access the pilot's chair. Or it all hinges from the back here. You can open the entire thing. Now that we have access to the interior, you can see there's quite a lot of space. There's obviously the seats for the pilot and the gunner, who I'm going to take out. And then there's also a storage compartment back there to store their blasters. And then Luke's lightsaber really doesn't fit in there, and I tried dismantling it. It doesn't work if you even take it apart in two pieces. But it works well if you place it here, since nothing drops into there. It can just rest there nicely. And of course, there's Luke's seat, and they just attach with little leg brackets, and then Dak's seat. There's also a spot in between there if you want to put a gun or some accessory or something. Something I really like, though, is the little console there, which if I kind of break that off accidentally, it works out well, though. You can see that it lines up there when you bring it down. That does bring me to one complaint about this whole system, though. This breaks off very easily, being connected, only by these 4 studs, and having all this weight, and it also makes it hard to open, so you try opening it, and a lot of time that happens. So if you want to just open the front panel, you have to do it where you If I can get this back connected, yeah, you have to do it where you just hold that down and then open that, which is kind of obnoxious. So I don't really open just the front that much because it just works better to do this anyway, plus you get access to the full thing. Overall, I think this is a pretty good version of the Snowspeeder, so now let's go look at the minifigs. So here are the 3 figures. We'll look at the 20th anniversary Lando in just a second, and we'll look at him by himself. We have, of course, from left to right, Luke Skywalker, Dak Ralter, and then just a random Hoth Trooper, which I think is a pretty good inclusion as we don't get them enough. We'll start by looking at Luke. He has, the pretty generic pilot suit, which we've seen a million times, and I believe we've gotten this version, the same one in the X-Wing. Speaking of the X-Wing, something odd is these have the older style helmets, whereas in the X-Wing they gave them, the newer, larger helmets that had the visor built in instead of having it printed on. So it's kind of odd that they gave us the new helmets there, but not the old ones here. Maybe they just were trying them out and didn't like them, or enough people didn't like them and they decided not to use them anymore. Or one common theory is that they don't fit in the Snowspeeders. There isn't that much space for their heads in there together. So a common theory is that the new helmet would be too large, and so that's why they use the small one. But anyway, this is just a pretty standard, Luke printed one with his designs on it. And of course he has his lightsaber and a small blaster here. There's the flight printing around the back, the flight suit. Pretty standard stuff. And if we take off the helmet, there's, the face with the visor and the chin strap, of course, printed on. And then here's one where he has the visor pulled up, which I think is an interesting look. Yeah, that's about it for Luke. Pretty standard figure, nothing too crazy about him. And then here's Dak, of course, Luke's pilot. He has a pretty standard helmet where it just has the 2 blue rebel signs on it, and that's about it. I believe they've used this helmet on a lot of other figures as well. He has the same flight suit as Luke, and then has a pretty standard rebel pilot face. I believe it's the same one used for the U-Wing pilot. That's the front, and then his alternate face is, screaming as he falls to his death, or as the Snowspeeder blows up, or whatever you want it to represent. And then finally, we have personally my favorite figure out of the 3, the Hoth Trooper, simply because the other 2 are just kind of generic pilots. There's nothing too crazy about them. I really like the Hoth Trooper, and also how they use this kind of old, large blaster piece that I haven't seen used very often. It was originally introduced as a blaster, I believe, and it was used as a blaster a lot, but then stopped being used for that. And it's more so used as, parts of larger builds, but I don't see it that often, so I'm glad they included it. It's also a nice callback to in the original original Snowspeeder that the 20th anniversary set's based off of. The Rebel Trooper had this blaster, so it makes a lot of sense. He then has some pretty good torso printing there, nothing crazy out of the, it's just pretty standard. And he, of course, has the tan hat with the goggles, which can be popped off and put down if you would like. So that way they're like that. Personally, don't like the way that looks, though, because the visor's, way oversized. But there's the face for him. It's a pretty common, standard face, nothing too out of the ordinary. And he has no alternate face, and then this white backpack, which I'll take off so you can see the back printing better. Then there's the back printing, which just continues his jacket around. I kind of like the whole check pattern there. I think it looks kind of nice. As well as the little bit of shadow printed above the belt. Nothing too crazy, and he definitely looks odd without the backpack. So the back printing isn't too great, but I don't mind, because most of the time you're going to have the white backpack on anyway. So here's the 20th anniversary Lando, which is meant to be as similar to the original appearance as possible. One difference, though, that they really can't change is he uses the newer reddish-brown color, whereas the original one, used the plain brown before they changed it out for reddish-brown. So that's one slight difference. There's slight discrepancies like that throughout the 20th anniversary figures, such as also, not having the chrome hilts, because they don't produce those anymore because they would just break and the chrome would chip off. But then the biggest difference, of course, that's on all the 20th anniversary figures, is the big 20th anniversary print on the back, which I know a lot of people don't like. Personally, I like it, however, since, it makes it so that way people can't buy these and sell them and claim them as the originals, which I know everyone recognizes why it exists. I just know a lot of people wish there was a better way of doing it. I'm personally fine with that, especially on Lando, since it's covered by his big double-sided yellow and blue cape. And of course, the torso printing is pretty simple there. Very early 2000s. And then also he just has the, OG blasters where it's made with the megaphone and the stud. the one face print there of the smile, and then, of course, the regular black hair. And that's about it for Lando. He's personally one of my favorite 20th anniversary figures. I just think he has such a cool design, with the cape, and I don't know, he definitely stands out. Overall, I really like this set. I think it's a pretty good version of the Snowspeeder. The 20th anniversary Lando is, pretty standard for a 20th anniversary figure. It's just personally my favorite. I just like the way he looks. The Luke and Dak aren't that cool. The Luke, I don't think has any exclusive face prints. I think that's probably a face print that's been used before. Of course, pretty standard flight suit and Luke helmet and whatnot. And then Dak doesn't have, any unique helmet or anything. It's just, standard flight suit, pretty standard Rebel pilot face, which you can find on a lot of figures. And then that helmet is pretty common as well. The Rebel Trooper is really the only minifigure in this set I really like. Obviously, getting more Rebel pilots isn't bad, but he's the only figure other than, 20th anniversary figures, the only standard figure that I really like. Overall, I think the builds of the set are pretty good, and it was also a neat little inclusion to have the side build as well. That's all from me for now, and bye.